to all of you, and thank you for joining us and for your support of Kiwimbi. And if you're new to Kiwimbi, all the better. We'd love to tell you all about what we're doing. We're very grateful for our Kiwimbi donors and for all you do to help us provide opportunities through education to the children in Busia County, Kenya. I'm Janet Van Abs. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Vice Chair of the Kiwimbi Board. And today we're have fun and learn lots from Kathy and Professor Olabai on the ground in Amagoro. Lisa Connell, our development coordinator, is managing the Zoom call, thank goodness. And if you have any technical issues, she'll be monitoring the chat feature so you can reach out to her. And we're going to start with a short, very short Kiwimbi trivia game. And then we'll find out from Kathy and Olabai what the true answers are. And then we'll move on to Q&A. And Lisa will start with a few questions that have been already submitted. And then you'll have the opportunity to raise your hand or use the chat function if you prefer to ask Kathy and Olabai anything you would like to ask them. Lisa, if you can go ahead now and tell us about the trivia game, that would be great.
Sure. So we're going to ask you 3 brief questions about Kiwimbi. You don't have to write them down. I'm going to put them in the chat box as well. And then we're going to send you to breakout rooms so that you, with some small groups, can discuss what you think the best answer to the question is. We'll bring you back together after a few minutes. I'll give you a 1-minute countdown warning. And then we'll come back and see how you all did when we talked to Olabai and Kathy about right answers to the questions. So I'll tell you what the questions are ahead of time now, just so you can start thinking, and then again, you can read them in the chat box. So the first question will be, how many lunches does Kiwimbi provide each day, and what is the name of the dish that is served? And you get bonus points if you know the ingredients. The second question is, what vocational programs does Kiwimbi offer, and how many students are in each group? The third is, how many students benefit from access to books from the Kiwimbi Library and Community Center and our outreach libraries? What is the name of our library on wheels, and where does it get its name? All right, so those will all be in your chat box. I put them there now. And give me a moment. And we're going to put you in breakout rooms. Okay. Goodbye. We'll see you in a little bit. You'll get the opportunity when I click this button. If you hit join, then you'll go. Otherwise, you'll stay here with me. We can talk, but go have fun. Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so let's see how we did. The first question was, how many lunches does Kiwimbi provide each day? And what is the name of the dish that is served? Bonus points if you know the ingredients. So Kathy and/or Olabai, what is the correct answer?
There are over 200 lunches served per day, and the name of the dish is githeri.
And what are the ingredients?
Could you hear me, Lisa?
Yes, yep. And what are the ingredients?
And beans, corn and beans.
Corn and beans. Did anybody get that?
Main ingredients, corn and beans.
How did you do, everybody?
Oil and water.
1 and 1.
No, oil and water.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So the next question, what vocational programs does Kiwimbi offer, and how many students are in the groups? Olabai or Kathy?
I list the carpentry, which is currently about four students. There's tailoring, which is, Kathy knows the exact number, but it's around, any answer between 6 to 10 would be fairly good guess.
Yes.
There's fine arts where a lot of this is really many kids. Probably a good answer is a big number, like say 100, because lots of kids come for the fine arts. Kathy, what else would you like to add? Our main vocational programs are tailoring, carpentry. Those are really the main ones where people train and go out and graduate.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the third question, how many students benefit from access to books from the Kiwimbi Library and Community Center and our outreach libraries? What is the name of the library on wheels and where does it get its name? Kathy or Olabai?
A good and acceptable answer for the number of beneficiaries should be in the thousands, because we reach out to 72 different schools and the average school has about 1,000 kids. So definitely more than 50,000 kids benefit from our books. And the outreach program is based on a mobile service called Boda Boda.
And where does that name come from?
And Boda Boda in Kenya means, so it's a, and the name is actually all of Kenya, really comes from the border between Kenya and Uganda. Initially, these were bicycles, not even motorbikes, bicycles that used to cross from Kenya to Uganda, Uganda to Kenya. Then later it became motorized, so these are now motorbikes. And so that's where the name is Boda Boda in Kenyan pronunciation, from one border, basically crossing the border. That's the etymology. But now most Kenyans don't even know that that was the original meaning. So Boda Boda in Kenya has really become a synonym for motorbike.
Oh, that's what I thought the right answer was. So I learned something already today. So did anybody get that right? No, nope, that was a very tricky question.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so as you know, when you registered, you had the opportunity to add some questions to your registration. So we have a couple of questions that were already submitted. So I'll start the conversation with one of those questions, and then, you know, we'd like to be able to have sort of a dialogue, and I know it can be tricky because of delay and time and Zoom and 25 people and stepping over each other's voices. So, but it would be great if we could have sort of a conversation and open dialogue. So we'll see how it goes and moderate it the best we can along the way, but we really like to have as much time to learn from Kathy and Olabai as we can. So some of the first question that we have here is, do the students get assignments to work on at home?
The students get assignments to work on from their school, but they usually come to the library. A lot of them that do not have electricity at home come to the library and work on their homework in the library, because we have solar and we have electricity throughout. So they do get work, but some of them bring it to the library for help.
And do they have the tutoring available to help them at the library as well as access to electricity?
Yes, they do. They have the staff to help them, and sometimes they have to be in groups because they have the same homework. And so it's possible for one staff member to help a group of students at the same time.
And do the children, or sorry, excuse me, the adults who participate in the vocational courses, do they also have the lunch served to them?
Oh yes, they do, because the vocational programs are at the library. And so when lunch is served, they are there too. And some of them are, like in the tailoring program, they have their babies as well. So yes, they all get the lunch.
And let's see. One of the questions is, please tell us what is the most exciting and rewarding experience you have had thus far in Amagoro?
The most exciting, go ahead, Prof.
No, you go ahead, Kathy. I was actually going to ask,
Okay.
is that a question for the two of us or for the other people?
It's for the two of you. We can open it up.
Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, the most exciting, since I came to Amagoro in 2013, the most exciting thing that has happened is to see how Kiwimbi has grown and to have the alumni of Kiwimbi be half our staff or volunteers. So recently we had, when COVID came and we had a big crisis, we had volunteers that everybody was forced to come to the village. And so we had a lot of volunteers that just showed up, and they all looked familiar to them, to me, because they used to be little boys and little girls, but now they are big boys and big girls, and they can explain all our programs to the children, and they know us so well. It's so amazing to see the alumni, because it shows what we are doing makes an impact. It's also lovely to see them teaching our way. The way we taught them is the way they're teaching the little ones. And so that has been the most exciting thing this year for me. I have to say it's the most exciting thing that has happened, to see our work reflected back to us.
Thank you.
And for me, the most exciting thing has been that because now I work from home, my daughter, who is 7 years old, Zuri, who is right here, Zuri wakes up and jumps on her bike and heads out to Kiwimbi. Even if we tell her we're going to an exciting town like Eldoret or Kisumu, she says, no, I'm not coming. I'm going to Kiwimbi. And then she has a whole army of boys and girls, including Kathy's son, Marcus, they ride together at the library. They just disappear and take off. So they have the joy of rural life, where the parents don't have to worry about where a 7-year-old is. And the destination is Kiwimbi.
That's an interesting perspective for us to hear about the difference in what life is like there, that it can be that free for a child. It's different than what we experience here.
And even for us, because we usually live in Nairobi, Zuri cannot just take off on her bike. But in Amagoro, she just heads out, says bye. We don't see her for the next 10 hours.
Yes.
And that sort of takes us to the next question, which was, how do the lives of the kids that Kiwimbi serve compare with your own lives when you were growing up in Kenya? I guess if you were in the city, it wouldn't be the kind of experience that the children at Kiwimbi are having, but can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I was born and raised in a city. So I went to Catholic school, primary, and then from school, was taken to school, I went back home, and you stay with your mother. So basically you don't go anywhere on your own. You barely see any green really, unless your mom lets you go do that. So we were in a very closed society, very sheltered. But in Amagoro, the children, like my son, has a free childhood. He wakes up in the morning without me having to make him do that, gets ready and goes to the library, and is able to stay at the library all day. So I used to call the library, I used to go to the library trying to make sure that he's okay mid-afternoon, like he didn't come home for lunch. That's very different from what I did, because my son doesn't have to worry about lunch. He doesn't have to worry about his anything happening to him. And I have had to learn to trust the community and just let my child be, because children just roam is what they do. And that's very different from what I grew up seeing, is just children roaming and owning their area, because at Kiwimbi, nobody tells them to stop. It's their area, it's their space. And I know Prof and I were talking about, can you imagine that our children are benefiting from what we thought other people's children will benefit from? We are actually benefiting, our children are benefiting from the very community that we sought to help. And it has been very, very exciting for us. So it's a different childhood for my son than for me. And it's a different childhood for these children who are here, who now are able to see adults from the upper echelons of society. They are able to see men in suits. They are able to see women in suits. They are able to see them reading the newspaper. So they can see their future right where they live. So if a child is thinking, I want to be an engineer, they can see one. They can see our alumni who's just become who's just got his master's, and they can see him, and he's a child of Amagoro. So their childhood is full of promise. It's a beautiful childhood.
And I know some of the people who are participating in the call, besides Kathy and Olabai.
For me, the good, that's how I grew up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
Go ahead,
think,
Lisa.
sorry, I was wondering if some of the other people who grew up in the area similar to Amagoro had anything else to share about life in your own childhood versus what it's like now.
Yes, I mean, as I said before, I see myself in the Amagoro kids. That's how I grew up. I would wake up 6:30, 7 o'clock is when in the mornings when our classes started. And our parents would never come to wake us up to get ready to go to school. It was just a duty. You wake up, you get ready, and you run from home to school. And then obviously during those days, lunch was never served in school. And so we would always struggle to come back home to see if there's lunch. You come home, most of the time there is no lunch. Then you run back to school, empty stomach, and you stay till afternoon. So yeah, I see myself very much in the Amagoro kids. And when I see some of these resources being provided by Kiwimbi, I think it's great. It's great. We never had those.
By the way, Maurice is one of the trustees. He's fairly new to us, and that's what we call him, although you can see him as Manyuka on the screen. Thanks, Maurice.
Can I add something about those who grew? I also grew up in Amagoro, a bit far off from where the library is, about say, could be about 6 kilometers away, approximately. And that's the life around that area. It's the same as the Amagoro area. We used to go to school running, not walking, because it's a bit of a distance. You're talking about 3-4 kilometers every journey, and you have to go running in the morning, go back for lunch, which you may eat or not, go back to school running to catch up for the 2 o'clock class, come back in the evening, and that is it. And for me, the library is really, really something that I really appreciate everybody else who is supporting, because we didn't have a library, we didn't have books, we didn't have even books in schools. So just the imagination that a child can have a book and open and read, even if it's a page, even if it's a sentence, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rebecca. Does anybody else want to share anything about that? Remember, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, you can raise your hand. You can let us know you'd like to speak. You can type it in the chat box as well. Lynn, I see you'd like to say something.
I just wanted to mention that Rebecca is one of the board members of Kiwimbi, Kenya. So I just wanted to give her a brief shout out. And, you know, we mentioned Maurice. We've also got Martin on the call. And of course, Olabai and Kathy, not sure whether, I'm not sure whether I see any other trustees or not, but anyway.
Jane's on.
Oh, Jane's on. Yeah, Jane is on. So I just wanted to mention Rebecca supports from England. She supports Kiwimbi, Kenya in their work.
Thank you, Lynn. Hi, Teresa, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so excited to see everybody. I'm so excited. Oh, Olabai, Kathy, so excited. What was the
Hi, Teresa.
What was the most exciting thing for me? I've been to Kiwimbi twice now, and we were supposed to go. I was going to bring my husband this past year, but COVID canceled that. They know I love Kiwimbi. The library is amazing. The teachers there are amazing. The schools are, they beg for more. We can't give them enough. the children, that they are so thrilled with coming to the library. They sit with such respect. They treat the books with such respect. They can't get enough of it. The volunteers there that read stories to the children, it's just an amazing program. I've seen the carpentry. They've made the tables. They're making chairs. I've seen the sewing program is unbelievable, the tailoring. It is unbelievable. Ladies, put your orders in. They are just unbelievable, wonderful. They also have a gardening program. So I'm hoping that the produce has been coming. The fine arts program, again, thrilling, beyond thrilling. And when you go, they take you to the schools, and that you walk through a village, and you walk through the back roads, and you're just there in the country. It is beyond thrilling. Thank you, Kiwimbi, for all that you do for these kids in Kenya. I love you. Amen. Kudos to you.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks to you too.
I wanted to share my experience that when I see the kids, I remember the difficult times growing up, waking up in the morning. I was a lazy kid, so I didn't like going to school. So if there are kids that don't feel like doing it, I could really connect with them. When I look at them, it takes me back to that time, and that's why I keep going back to get that grounding.
Thank you, Martin. So Kathy and Olabai, well, we've got you here, we would love to just hear some updates about what you might like to share with us. If you want to just sort of tell us a little bit about what's happening in Kiwimbi right now.
Yes, what's happening in Kiwimbi right now is very exciting because we just got designated as the innovation hub for Busia County, which is a big recognition. It came organically. We didn't even seek to be one of those we thought were too little to be considered, but the government made an arbitrary decision to designate us as such and give us the first fiber optic cables running to our center, which means now we have free internet that provides internet for the whole community for around Kiwimbi. And that's the most exciting thing, just to see the young people coming in very early. Outside of Kiwimbi, after Kiwimbi closes, there's still a bunch of young people working on their phones, trying to do the virtual learning because, you know, COVID has come and there's a lot of e-learning, but because the community is an underserved community, data is very expensive. They cannot afford it. So the free data is helping them now be able to access the e-learning from the universities and from the colleges they go to, which is an amazing thing. That's the most exciting thing. That's the most recent thing that happened in the last few weeks.
Any other updates you'd like to share about any students or programs?
Okay, so yeah, I'd like to share the programs that we did with. We have been doing exam prep for preparing our children, our students, our grade 8 students for the final exam that comes at the end of the 8 years. And that's the exam that takes them to high school. So that's been our main goal. But because of COVID, the silver lining that's come because of COVID was that this year we were the only game in town. So schools closed. So we were able to do literacy programs for our students because we had realized that some of our students don't even know how to read. So we are trying to prepare them to do an exam in English. They don't know this English. We only have a year to do this. So a lot of them got left behind because the amount of teachers and the amount of contact hours we needed was just beyond us. But when COVID came, we now were able to concentrate on the ones that are struggling the most and take them from 0 to 100 in reading and in basic numeracy. because if you don't have basic numeracy, you're not going to be able to build, you have no foundation in which to build to do an advanced exam. So this year, our staff got to see what our program can actually achieve. And what I've seen in the eyes of our staff is belief. They now know that we can take these children that are really struggling, because it's hard to convince people because they don't pass very well, that these children who are really struggling, and some of them are 20 years old, 19 years old, and they haven't gone to high school yet. And they have casual labor, the casual labor jobs they're trying to do to earn a living, and you're trying to teach them basic math and basic reading. And it was a challenge that we saw and we overcame very well. And the cohesiveness of our team and what has happened now the school has opened is that these children, these students, I'm going to call them, are more interested in school now than they ever were. And you know, the reason why they're still in school is because the government has said you must graduate from your basic elementary school. You must graduate, even if you don't go to high school, you must graduate from primary school. So that's why they're in school. They're in school to get a certificate. But we saw their learning, the capacity, their aptitude. We were able to see that they can learn, and our team was able to believe in themselves again, to show that we don't even have to worry. As long as we put in the job, the children will learn, the students will learn. So that's what happened this year that is very unique compared to what was happening before. And these particular students that we worked with are, of course, this is an underserved area. They're the underserved of the underserved. So they've been going to school the same 8 years for a long time. So we were able to see how they can do. And when Professor came from, Professor Olubai, who's on the call, when he came from Nairobi, he came and gave his basic, there's a basic test he gives all children to see, so he can gauge where they are, and whether he gives them an impromptu basic literacy test. And usually these children would be the lowest. They were not the highest, but they were at par. That is a huge accomplishment, which means that we are looking at the Kidek children the same way we are looking at with the other two schools that we serve, and they are holding their own. They're able to do just as well. So they're starting at the same standard as the other students. So I'm really hoping to see big things from these children. Just them being at par with the other students is a big deal. So that really helped to prove to us that the job we did was good and that our children can make it if we just give them a chance to do it. Yeah.
Lois had a question.
Yes. I'm always excited when I hear about students passing the 8th grade exam and going on to high school. But how many students who came through Kiwimbi have gone on beyond high school, either to university or to some other program? Do we have any figures on that?
Prof? Okay. So usually in our programs in the whole country, we have about 3 out of 10 students that graduate and go to university, but one or 2 out of 10 go. But with us, I don't have the exact number right now for Kiwimbi, but with Kiwimbi, 4 out of 10, 40% of our students do pass, and which means they go on to either university or teaching colleges or some kind of tertiary education. They get some kind of tertiary education. So I have a percentage for is 40% that are doing that now. While in Kenya as a whole, it's 10 to 15% that are able to do that. So that's our number. And remember that we're in a rural area, so that's a good number for us. And the reason why it's been difficult is that we don't have as many teachers as we would like because the classes are so huge. Mm-hmm. So if we can have more teachers in the future, we have more teachers, more contact with the students, then we'll be able to raise that number to 50 and above. Yeah. And that's our goal. That's
That's
our goal.
wonderful. Do you know if any of those students received scholarships?
There are some students that receive scholarships. Kiwimbi has grown organically. Like we did not first begin by trying to give scholarships. We couldn't afford to do that. But there are individuals that have given scholarships to particular students in the last few years. And in the last, in 2 years ago, Kiwimbi did sponsor a student go to one of our alumni to be able to go to a master's program. So that's one we started with from high school. He went to his undergraduate, and then he could not have afforded to go, even though he has the aptitude, had the grades, he couldn't have gone to get his master's if it wasn't for Kiwimbi. But we also have a couple of girls in university, another one being sponsored by a friend of Kiwimbi to go to an agricultural college. So we have quite a few students that are going 2 or 3 a year that usually get those scholarships and are supported to go through them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Does anybody have a question? I don't want to miss. Susan, Logan? You can unmute yourself.
I just did. I just wondered why don't you have more teachers? Are there not enough qualified people, or you don't have enough money, or what is the reason?
Well, we have a certain a finite number of resources is what I'm going to say, because all our resources in Kiwimbi is because of the hard work of our board there in New Jersey. And so we have a certain number of students, teachers that we can afford to pay, but we also have volunteers. But because, like, for example, one of our schools has 90 students, but our biggest school that we have has a total of 1,600 students. So in that one class, in one of our satellite libraries, where we formed our first satellite libraries, we can't be able to, unless we have like 3 or 4 times the resources we usually get, we cannot be able to hire that many people at this time to be able to provide that kind of resource. So our biggest school that we work with directly has 100 students. All together, we take care of 200. And our permanent staff for teachers is under 16 most of the time, because we have volunteers that cycle in and out. If they're university, they come in when they are away from school, then they join us, and then they go back. Like now, a whole lot of volunteers just left, and we were left with 12 of our usual our permanent staff. So that's what happens going out in the field, that is. And then the other group stays at the library to man the library and take care of the kids that come to the library. But the ones that go out in the field are about 12 to 14 at a time, and we have 200 students. So that's not an easy prospect, but we are hoping to grow that number as our resources get better, and our way of getting more donations get better. And we are doing the best we can, though, with the resources we have.
Right. What kind of money do you need for a teacher? Can you quantify that? I mean, in terms of donating, anything helps, I guess.
Kiwimbi International can explain how we usually do our donations. I think because what happens that we have some teachers that get 10,000 Kenyan shillings, which is $100 a month. Some teachers get $60, yeah, 6,000, which is $60. Some volunteers get a stipend of $30, which is 3,000. That allows them to go and back and forth, to be able to get transport back and forth to work, and get some decent clothing, because you have to have a certain standard of clothing to go to these schools. And then that's it. And then we have some who are qualified that get 150. So it depends on where the person is in Kiwimbi, because when you first come into Kiwimbi, you have to volunteer for a certain amount of months, sometimes a year. And then if we have a slot, then we'll place you in a slot, depending on the slots that are available. So some of the slots are, like I said, $100, $150 is what we have for a team leader. And then we have $60 per month. And this is per month per teacher.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yes, Jean.
Well, I think this is such a wonderful vehicle for us learning about Kiwimbi and understanding more, and then we can ask you questions. I mean, what a great idea to have this. It's such a great idea. And even to meet your people like Maurice, he was in our small group, to know him and to understand more about how he got into this. And, you know, he's from that area, not just exactly that area, but you know, I mean, I've known about Kiwimbi, and I've met Professor Olabai and Kathy several times, but I think this is the most wonderful vehicle. And also the idea that we could try to give money for a teacher for some, I don't know, some aspect. We could say, oh, I would like to support a teacher. And that it wouldn't, for us, is not so much money, you know, it's something that you could really do. So I think this is a brilliant idea. I have no idea which of the brilliant board members and personnel of the program thought it up, but this is great. Just saying.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We're so glad you're all here.
One of the things I'll just mention now is that one way that you could support a teacher or a child that wouldn't break the bank, so to speak, is to join our Food for Thought program, which is a monthly giving program. And you can, for $12 a month, you can feed a child. And if you did that for, you know, every month for the year, that child would be able to be fed for the entire year for $12 a month. It's not a huge amount of money, and obviously teachers are more expensive and that sort of thing. But I donate on a monthly basis, and a lot of our trustees and some of our donors do. And you can just kind of forget about it, and you know, $20, you know, $30, whatever. But it's just one way that we can also count on that donation all the way through the year, which is a good thing. And of course, we don't mind one-time donations either. And there's an easy way to donate, and that's by texting THOUGHT to 41444. We can put that on the chat session so you can know about that. So, but let's get back to the fun stuff.
Yeah, sorry, Jan, I saw Debbie had her hand raised.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet now.
Oh, hi. I just want to say hi to everyone. This is really neat seeing everyone like this. And I hope we keep doing it. I think it's nice. I like that it's a free event and that we can brainstorm together and hear updates. You know, there's so many good organizations and everyone needs money, and it's like, it's good to get together as a group so we can think creatively, because you know, I support a lot of charities and everyone needs money, but like maybe as a group we can think of some unique way, you know, to support Kiwimbi. And I hope we keep doing this. I think I saw this was like one of many lunch chats, lunch/dinner for you guys in Kenya. Anyway, I love seeing everyone, and I hope we can generate some new ideas as well as get information and updates.
It's lovely to see you, Debbie.
I miss you guys.
Thanks, Debbie. Thank you.
Yeah. Soon we have our vaccine coming, right?
Right.
Yes.
Thanks, Debbie.
Sure.
Carol, did you want to say something?
I'd like to ask Olabai and Kathy to comment on our agricultural programs, especially as they pertain to the community, and how we're helping mostly women to produce more and better food.
Right. Our agricultural, Prof, do you want to take that? Prof, okay. Our agricultural program is very unique because what has happened to our food supply, what has been happening to our food supply is that the local seeds, the traditional seeds are beginning to disappear, and the hybrid seeds from multinationals are coming in. So the issue there is, even though those other ones help, the indigenous seeds are resistant to drought. The indigenous seeds are self-replicating, so you can keep getting more seeds from what you're growing, and whatever you're growing, you get everything. It's sustainable. It's a sustainable way of life. So what Kiwimbi has, we had an agronomist that came to work with us, and he approached us actually, and he has been going out in the community and showing the community how to grow this and how to replicate seeds. And then when the seeds come out, they share the seeds among them. We did start out mostly with males, with men, but they fell by the way because they thought it was a get-rich-quick scheme when they realized it was not, that you had to do some work. They fell by the wayside. And then the women came in, and these women, who are about 20, came in, and they've been very diligent and are now being able to have very many seeds. And so we are seeing everybody around us, around the women, trying to grow the indigenous vegetables now and trying to get into the program, which is very amazing. So the women grow the vegetables in their gardens that are smaller, because people have sold a lot of their land to take their children to school. So a lot of the women that are in the program do not have a sustainable way of feeding themselves. So they're learning how to grow organic vegetables, traditional indigenous vegetables around the house and in their small gardens, so they never have to worry about food, because you just keep the seeds from your last harvest and then you continue with another one. And the other thing that he's taught them to do is to change the variety, so that you don't grow the same variety, you keep mixing it up. That way the soil does not get exhausted. So he's showing them how to rotate that. He was showing them how to rotate that, and it's a program we hope to grow. And that's a very good thing.
Kathy, what are some of the vegetables that are included in the list of indigenous plants?
Now, I don't know their English names. I would say, well,
just give the Swahili names. They can Google managu.
Okay. Dengu, managu, suja, managu which is suja, saga, dodo, terere. They grow that. They grow miro. Miro is very delicious. My husband loves that one. They come out in little leaves, and then they're made in different ways. They also have pumpkin, and a kind of pumpkin. It's different. It's like a butternut that they grow as well. They grow two varieties of pumpkins. Now, pumpkins are great because you eat the pumpkin, but you also eat the pumpkin leaves. So the pumpkin leaves mix very, very, very well with the other greens. So they get a good mixture from that. So those are some of the ones. The most popular are those.
I think we'll have to make some of those names a trivia question for a future event.
Yeah.
Well, you were explaining that Beth typed into the chat box. She was wondering if you said that she heard you correctly, that you said that land is being sold by mothers in order to put their children into school. Did she hear you correctly?
Yeah, she heard me correctly. So what has happened is that because the only resource, they are land rich, the Teso community is land rich. So that is the main resource. So ancestral land is what they begin with, is what they begin with here. And so to take their children, because there are not that many ways because Tesos are originally pastoralists. So they have a lot of land and there are not a lot of ways to make money here. So they want all their children to go to school. So they keep selling their land piece by piece until all their children go to school. So by the time all their children go to school, they're left with very little. But their hope is that when their children go to school, then that is going to be their wealth, their new wealth. So that is actually what they're hoping for, because high school is very expensive here and there is no way for doing that. So mothers and fathers sell their land, and that has happened a lot, especially in Amagoro and the environs.
Thank you for explaining that. Maurice?
Yeah, can I just say something? And this is quite.
Can I just say something really quickly now that I'm hearing Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. You say.
Yeah.
I was just going to say really quickly, Kathy, hi. How are you? Kathy, hi. It's an opportunity, I think, Lisa and crew, to use this information to position donating differently or positioning to our community. That's like a hot point, I think, where people are going to respond when you hear that mothers have to sell their land to put their children into school. I think that in our community would be upsetting to hear that that's so unsustainable, and it's so troubling for future generations to not have their inheritance because of this.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then what makes it worse, if I may add something, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, after you sell that land, only 2 out of 10 of those kids are likely to actually succeed and make any money.
Exactly. Yeah, that was what I was going to add, that the troubling part, and you see this a lot. I mean, I went through this as a kid. Once you sell your land, even if you do well, the chances of you getting employed to be able to have that return to compensate for the land becomes very limited. So the family even can become even poorer as a result.
Yes.
If they
Correct,
exactly
and they do.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
So that's very scary for from our community, and hearing this, obviously it's scary for you all, but for positioning for donations and how we can outreach from the perspective here in the US, certainly in New Jersey, in our community, I think that's an important point to bring forward in the way we talk about the program and the way we ask for help with the program.
We would love to have you join our conversation on a regular basis. Look for information about that opportunity. Okay. Any other questions or comments? We have about 4 minutes left, so we really are so happy you're all here. Teresa and then Debbie.
Quick question. Kathy, who's benefiting now from the vegetable garden?
The vegetable garden is as our staff are benefiting from that, and the women that help to grow. So you eat what you grow. Okay. Because we have a lunch program as well. But when the staff help to do that, because they have been helping to do that while there was COVID, they've been going to the garden. They've gone above and beyond their call of duty here. So they do benefit as well in their lunch program and at home, so they get to harvest.
Okay.
And the women as well. Everybody who works on it gets to and especially when it comes to the seeds, because even our staff need those seeds, the indigenous seeds. Now the area that we had, we saw the difference between when we have the vegetables and when we don't, because it rains so hard. Global warming is hitting everywhere, and the particular area that we had identified as a demonstration garden flooded so much. And so it was a very good thing that we already had these other programs and going on outside of the demonstration garden, because then we wouldn't have had our seeds, because it rained continually for over 2 or 3 days and just a deluge for over and it blew away houses, because most of the houses are grass thatched. And so that was a catastrophe. But because a lot of the seeds had already been given out, we still have them. And Prof was talking about planting vegetables, non-vegetables, or planting things that can grow in waterlogged areas. So he's going to help us identify seeds for maybe yams that have an affinity for waterlogged areas. So we're going to try and do something different in that demonstration garden now, because they have some waterlogged.
Yeah, that's a great idea for the waterlogged areas. That's really a great, yes.
Right. Yeah. So Professor said that is something we could do just until everything comes back to normal. The other thing is that Amagoro when I came to Amagoro, it was a drought. There was no rain, and now rain is 365 days nearly. So we no longer have the rainy season, predictable rainy seasons, and predictable dry seasons. So it's very important that the women learn and people learn to grow these vegetables, because these vegetables only take 45 days to grow. So if you always have a vegetable growing, you're good to go. You will not starve. So things have changed. Global warming has changed even Amagoro. And it's kind of cool here now. About a week ago, it was so cold. We were in sweatshirts all day long. I know the Kiwimbi International cannot believe that it can be cold in especially the ones who came to Kenya. They cannot believe it can be cold here, but it was pretty cold, enough for me to wear a sweater, which I don't usually. Yeah.
Thank you. One other quick question was, Amagoro affected with the locusts that affected Kenya this year?
No, we were not affected. Western Kenya was not as affected as the central and eastern regions and northeastern Kenya. But had we been affected, you see, locusts, these locusts are different. There used to be seasons where locusts would come, but there are a lot of the tribes in Western Kenya where we live view locusts as food. Not that many, but they are, even in Uganda, across the border, when you go to the market, they view them as food. So they were wondering, how come these locusts are going to places where people don't want them? And the problem with the locusts is that there were too many at the same time. It was an infestation. So it wasn't like the usual locusts that just come and you can handle them and harvest them. These were too many that they were becoming like a cloud. But no, Western Kenya did not get that. But there's still time. It could happen.
Thanks. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I think Debbie was next with a question.
I was just wondering if there's anything, like, while we have this group together, any information that you need from, like, that we could research for you or anything, or does it just come down to, like, always needing more funds? And how are you doing financially? I know we had to have our events virtually. So just trying to see if, while we have this group together, if there are any resources you need. We know farmers, is there anything that would be helpful, any ideas or experts that would be helpful to lend advice? Or does it just mostly come down to financial need, and how are you doing financially?
Well, most of the things, what we needed the most last year, our needs changes, and we were just going through the finances, and because of COVID, most of the donors, the big donors, are saying that they're not giving us the grants that they used to. So we're in a bit of a pickle as Kiwimbi, and we are relying on individual donors to help us out, because the big companies right now have been hit hard by their their bottom line has been hit hard, so their giving has been hit as well. However, that is what we are looking to change. When we are able to build in the new community, then we will be able to probably earn a living here in build our own complex, we can make some money, hopefully, in Amagoro. But for right now, we are still relying on the donors out there, the individual donors. Things are really bad because of COVID. We have not been able to receive the donations we usually do.
Can I just add, I mean, just as an individual, I'm a part of the trustee. I think ideas are always whenever you can come up with new idea, you can send it directly to Olubai and Kathy, or you send it to the trustees here, Kiwimbi International. I think ideas how to raise money, ideas how we can improve things, ideas how we can network with other people. I think those are always welcome.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a good one.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that we'll be doing some fundraisers like we did this past year, such as a walk. We're hoping that the walk doesn't have to be virtual like it was this year, but we'll definitely appreciate volunteers to help with spreading the word, really. I think that from my perspective, and each trustee probably has a different slant, but we could really use our current donors spreading the word to their friends and friends in other parts of the United States, especially because now we're used to this capability of using technology to talk to people wherever they are. But we found that one person tells 5 people who tell 5 people, etc. You get more of a spread of what Kiwimbi is doing, and I think we're really the leaders in Busia County and in Kenya in terms of finding a way to really give these children a chance to do whatever they want to do. And Olubai has said that sometimes other parts of Kenya, organizations or government people have come to Kiwimbi just to find out what we're doing and why it's so successful. And I think the other thing that we keep thinking is what had been mentioned at the virtual Karamu by our author that we had speak, whose name I can't pronounce too well, but yeah, a library in every town. If we could do that, we would give children so many opportunities.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that Kiwimbi is on a very sound financial footing. We're not spending more than we're taking in. We've grown the budget. When we first started, it was about $50,000 annual budget. Today, we're about $250,000 is the annual budget. And the issue is, though, that the need is almost indefinite, and that if we had more money, we could just reach that many more grade levels. We could reach that many more communities. As already mentioned, we established the first library in Busia County. Several million people had never even had a library. I mean, unless you've been over there, it's hard to really understand the difference between the resources that we have here versus a lack of resources and things that you just take for granted here that they don't have. So there's just so much that can be done. But while we're at a very firm foundation in terms of what we're doing today, obviously we would like to continue to do more.
So we're past our hour. We loved having you all here with us. We don't want to rush you off, but we understand that your weekend is your time to get some things done, and we so appreciate that you gave some of your time to us. It was really wonderful to be able to share ideas and get some updates and information and interesting facts from Kathy and Olubai. We did record the event, so and we would probably like to have the opportunity to share it with people should that opportunity come up. So if that is not something that you're comfortable with, please let us know. And before we sign off, any last questions or comments that anybody would like to make?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I would just like to thank all of you for coming today, and we will keep you posted on future events. We're happy that you think this is a worthwhile way to spend a little bit of time, and we will definitely do this again, and we'll keep you posted on events that we have throughout the year.
Thank you, Kathy and Olabai. It's
Thank
so
you.
good to see you. So good
So
to
good
see
Yeah,
you.
so good to see you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for joining.
Bye. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.